Hello, my friend. Welcome back to the Modern Hairstylists podcast. And also, Lisa, do you want to give like a little welcome back to
So welcome back to Stylist Soul Tribe Conversations.
hello, my friends, wherever you're tuning in from. We are so excited to be on this pod today. We have myself, Hunter Donia, we have Lisa Huff and Jodie Brown on the pod today to chat a little bit about ChatGPT and then also AI in general. And this episode isn't going to be like the sexiest, hottest, tips and use cases for AI and stuff. I have a episode that's going to go out for that soon. But first, I think it's going to be important to cover actually what this looks like, particular to our industry and outside of our industry a little bit, and how it's being used right now, what we all are seeing in our own communities and our customers and how they're using it, and how we are possibly approaching this in a way in which it's doing a little bit more harm than good. And I also want to touch on the ethical part of all of this and some hard hitting topics that I've been challenged with when I'm talking about AI to my students today. And so we're really going to get into it. So if you are interested in the whole AI conversation, if you've been using ChatGPT for your business or AI for your business, I highly recommend that you listen to this entire episode because, again, a lot of our community are using it and we're seeing weird stuff happen, and we don't want that to happen.
Feels like a layer of insurance slash protection before we dive into all the fun ways to use it. Let's be mindful ahead of time
I
and
love
set
that.
set the tone. Yes.
I love that. I think we all are because here's the tea, y'all. I was just saying before we started recording this that these are my business besties. Okay, like these are people that I talk to on the daily, on a very often basis, and we relate and we talk about all this stuff all the time. And we have found so many beautiful ways to use it, and we've been able to see. I've seen it make a huge impact in my business. I've seen it make a huge impact in my students' businesses. And we want to make sure that everybody's just using it beautifully and responsibly and tapping into the massive potential that it has. So, with that being said, the very first thing that I want to talk about is Lisa put it as using it as a tool instead of a crutch. So, Lisa, do you think that you could kick off this conversation?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's crazy how long it's been around for now. You talk to some people and they're still like, I don't even know what ChatGPT is. I've never used it. I've never like downloaded it on my phone. But it's been what, 2 years at this point, through 2.5 years?
I'm
I
not
don't know if we've
sure.
officially Hi, this voice is Lisa Huff.
Oh, hey, I'm Jody Brown. I'm excited to be here too.
Amazing. Okay, so I think it is wild that for some people it's like I've never even used this. I have no idea what this is, and for some people we've been using it for years now, and I am starting to see, I guess there's not a direct correlation with how long people have been using it for, but it is becoming a crutch for some people, business-wise, personal-wise,
Yeah.
lots of different spaces. And so I think we just want to break down the difference of, because we're all three huge fans of AI and getting behind that, but we just notice maybe when we hear people talk about it, or even within ourselves, I could probably even scroll back a while back and things that felt really innovative and new, I can now read and be like, ooh, that's clearly AI, and maybe that's not how I would say it. So I think, yeah, very much every time you go to interact with ChatGPT and or post publicly with that being your voice, really stop and ask yourself, are these my true thoughts? Or am I using this as a crutch and it's like creating thoughts for me? Because that's where I kind of draw the line personally.
I would agree with that. And I also think for me, when I think about AI and how I use it, efficiency in some situations is the primary concern. But in a lot of situations, like creative tasks, content, marketing, efficiency is the secondary consideration. And I feel like sometimes with the ChatGPT first mode in marketing, that gets flipped around. And I'm not here to create a ton of low quality content. We want to make sure that we're creating at a really high standard, but just using AI to actually facilitate that process instead of take it over. That's kind of where I look at it.
Yeah, dude, and I would even argue and say that the AI first creation, in my experience, actually has slowed me down a lot in the past and in
100%.
many cases because now I'm going back and I'm correcting all of this stuff. And I'm lucky enough to have an eye for understanding what may look like regurgitated AI, language or formatting. But also, I just also have a really great eye and understanding for how to market my business and what my customers are going to relate to and what's going to hit them, right? And I understand my brand voice and all those things, right? And because I have those foundations and fundamentals, because I've gotten the education, because I have the experience, I have the ability, the natural ability to be able to take, let's say, a ChatGPT first thing or even a refined thing and run it through my own filter and be confident that it's actually going to do something good for me versus just blend into the
More
rest of the
noise.
crowd because I
Yeah.
think that's what we're seeing is like we can now start to smell it from a mile away and maybe
Mhm.
that's just because we are who we are and we are seeing it and paying attention to it a little bit more, but I would argue that even if the majority of people aren't able to smell it, they absolutely will soon enough, and even
Yeah.
then some because of the overproduction of things now, because people are able to be so much more efficient, we're just going to inevitably nonstop see more and more and more shit, like more and more and more content because it's easier for people to do it. And so now I think what's happening is it's more important than ever to make sure that you're standing out. And I
Quality.
think what can happen with, like, I love what you said, like the AI first method
Mm.
is that you will very much easily blend in because it speaks in a very similar pattern. It goes back to just these like fundamentals and foundations that it has, and it just can get really repetitive, So it makes it a little bit harder to stand out if you don't have your own acumen, understanding, pre-work that you've done to make it so you're using it for efficiently getting things done, but still standing out and making it effective for what you're trying to accomplish.
100%, Hunter. And to your point, I feel like one of my favorite quotes about marketing in general is zig where other people zag. And so I think that, when we do have mass produced, really similar content that's flooding our platforms, it creates a gap and it creates a hunger for something different and something new. And I actually think that's a really cool opportunity for people to be able to stand out, stop the scroll, and to get attention in that more aligned and authentic way versus the majority of what's in the market now.
Yeah. Lisa, do you have
Couldn't
any
agree
thoughts?
more. I just remember when I was very first introduced, like when it very first dropped, I was in a mastermind class and he said from day one that like this is a game of becoming the best prompt crafter that you can be. Because if you typed in anything for hairstylists, again, this AI first kind of thought process, you're going to get the same thing. So I think the game is learning how to interact with it. But then I agree at the tail end of it, taking that filter through. This is the conversation that Hunter and I were having on the phone the other day, and we laughed and we were like, we should talk about this on a podcast. But where like the M dashes, Hunter hates because he used M dashes before ChatGPT came out. But now like you can genuinely smell it from a mile away. Like people, I told Hunter it was so bizarre. This is not business related, but I was scrolling Facebook and noticed that people were making Mother's Day posts that were so clearly ChatGPT written. And like for me, I guess whatever. If you want to have like a cute poetic thing, that's just to me where it becomes kind of strange when it's
Yeah,
supposed to be like a sentimental thought. Like when that's no longer written by you, I instead like to use it for efficiency and data and much like bigger picture tasks than just my words coming out of my mouth. That's my take.
totally. Totally.
So just so everybody knows, all right, what an M dash is, because let me tell you, I had no idea what the hell. I didn't know this was what that was called until like I was made aware of this since this ChatGPT situation. So M dashes are where there's like two or one hyphens after like words. So that way you can kind of like take maybe what you would call like a run-on sentence, but like add some like pause or add some more grammatical correctness to it, basically. You guys have seen it, trust believe. And I my mom is in marketing. She's like a vice president of marketing. She's been doing it for 30 years. And I learned a lot of my copywriting from her, like a lot of it. And she uses M dashes all the damn time. And so I naturally write with M dashes all the damn time. And now I'm pissed because now I'm pissed because now it's something that like people will scope out and just automatically assume is M dashes. Another thing that
ChatGPT loves them.
dude loves, and you know what else ChatGPT really loves is emojis too. Like it's getting like a little bit
Hugely.
ridiculous. I feel
Hmm.
like that's where I'm really starting to be able to sniff out it as well is with the emojis. So again, guys, like I think like the point of us talking about these and with these examples that we're giving is we have this nose for being able to see this stuff because we're seeing these repetitive patterns. And again, maybe that's just because of what we do for a living and how we're interacting with these tools. But I do believe that the mass majority of people will start to catch on as well. And again, this is your opportunity to stand out as a human with a unique voice who's speaking to the public um more than ever right now. And we're again not saying to not use the tool because I think that using the tool is honestly a little bit unreasonable in today's day
For
and
sure.
age. Like but to use it wisely and to still lean into mentorship, peers, and education to make it so you do understand how to use the tool wisely. Do you guys have any other thoughts about that?
No, I think that's fair.
I just want to underscore like that I agree with you. We absolutely should be using the tool, but it's like any other tool. Like the thing about ChatGPT that I think is really interesting versus, things like even Grammarly or things of that nature is that it is such a sophisticated language tool, right? It's so good at sounding legit and sounding like it's completely right. And I think that is what's leading to almost, leaning on it and taking it at face value versus giving the same type of proofreading that you would with any other tool. And so I think that's super true. And I think we just need to really always keep in mind when we're using it, like we go really hard on like the intelligence part and we like conveniently forget the artificial part sometimes.
That just made me think of another slightly different direction, but I'd like to mention it because I think it's worth it because I've heard it come up a few times inside of Soul Tribe lately. Is I also think there was this rush that happened where all of us started using ChatGPT and AI, where all of a sudden, when we are having like maybe disputes with a client or something, like dealing with boundaries and things like that, I have found a lot of people get hella offended when they can tell that they're getting a basic ask, especially during conflict resolution,
Yep.
and when they're getting a very inhuman ChatGPT response when that client has been your client for years and you've never spoke like that before, and now all of a sudden you're sending them a very customer service feel kind of message. I have heard that come up multiple times, and I think that's a fascinating take on it because I agree with you, Jody. You read it and you're like, that's exactly what I want to say, but we're losing that human touch that like our clients know and love, and sometimes just being a human back and forth gets to the point and preserves the relationship as well.
I completely agree.
And there's a very real like point to this where it's like if you don't use it, you lose it too, right? So we don't want to like,
Yes.
lose those
The
customers.
ability.
Like, yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I completely 100% agree. And again, it goes back to like being able to have the eye for filtering it. And if you feel like you might not, then like if you find yourself just copying and pasting these things more often than not and not really second guessing it, maybe that's a sign that like you need to take a step back and
It
maybe
might be
have
a
some like
crutch.
yeah, it might
Yeah.
you're using it as a crutch instead of using it as a tool.
Yeah.
And I think that this is where peer review is so powerful. Like this is why like I have like monthly funnel review and strategy and material review in my program. And this is why Lisa has like this community where these people can lean into each other whenever and have people take a look at their stuff. You know, it's because we want to make sure that the things that you're putting out there are optimized for your business, accomplishing the goals that you need to, even if it is like a difficult conversation or something like that. And I've always said, you know, I think the best use case is like writing your own version, even if it's a little choppy, because then you don't have to
Totally.
think about the polishedness of it as much and then having it polish it. But I will even go as far as saying when I do that and I do it often, a lot of the time I'm still not copying and pasting the polished version, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So just be mindful, my friends. Just be mindful.
Yep.
And Jody also said earlier, it's really good at sounding like it's right.
Mm.
It's really good at it feels very authoritative.
Mhm.
And I completely agree with that. And that's the next kind of topic that I would love to chat with you guys about is that how it's oftentimes wrong. Particularly, I mean, here's the cool thing about it. Here's the really awesome thing about it. 'Cause a lot of the time, it is right. Like a lot of the time, you can use it for like interesting research or interpretations of research. It passed the bar test apparently,
Crazy.
which is wild. And you guys
Wow.
can Google that. Yeah, you guys can
Mhm.
Google that article and all the other tests that it passed and its ratings for intelligence and things like that as of the most recent tests and stuff. But I have found it to be very incorrect in so many different circumstances. Now, I'm a fucking nerd. So I'm running like crazy numbers, massive amounts of data through it. Like I'm asking it to do wild math problems, right? Like create like different things for tech and coding and all that stuff. I'm using it to the max, right? And so I'm seeing like extreme versions of it being wrong, but even then some, as particularly with like time relevant things or more important things like legal questions or tax questions, financial questions, especially how things like that differ so much from location to location,
Mm.
it will very confidently,
Spit out inaccurate information.
very
Literally,
confidently.
literally today, I was like, what is 4 weeks from today? Because I was planning out some launch dates. And it's like Monday, June 24th.
It's
First
really
of
bad at
all,
that. Yeah.
first of all, June 24th is a Tuesday.
Yeah.
And it was like 2025, this is the date. And I like used it for some other dates. So it's, yeah, really simple stuff. Even that, I feel like we gotta double check
Hmm.
it.
Dude, I hate date math so much. I despise date math. Like it is genuinely my least favorite thing ever. And time math too, absolutely despise. That's really a
Mhm.
shame that you had that experience because I
I
would
know.
love to be able to rely on it for that.
I have tried using it like calendar organization. I really love Motion AI, the software, and so I would assume that ChatGPT would be just as smart as that. It's not. It
Yeah,
does
no.
not configure properly. Or I will tell it in the same thread, here's what I have going on today, here's what I have going on tomorrow, and it's definitely not wired correctly to know time in that way. Yeah, I'm sure before long it will,
Yeah.
but I think that just the overarching caution of we love these tools. We love playing with them. They're very fun. I absolutely believe that the people who got acquainted with them 2 years ago are using them, better now, as will the people 5 years from now who are using them, because I don't think they're going anywhere. But all of that to be said, you can't just replace your brain with this. That's not a good idea. It's not going to be helpful, and you're going to quickly fade into the sea of all other humans, or who knows
Yeah.
what they are, all other voices on the internet.
And I think it's also something important to point out is that I'm sure the three of us have put a lot of time and energy into training
Mm,
our chat GPT
yeah.
too, right? Like into like I, like you, Hunter, have uploaded so much data and so much copy and so many things. And even with that, there's still a lot of mistakes that happen, right? And so I think it's just like, because the advice that I hear a lot of, which I think is true to an extent, but I think also comes with a caveat, is it's all about what you put into it, which to an extent is true, but that does not invalidate any of the stuff we're saying. Because
Yep.
I'm saying all this as someone who has bought every make ChatGPT sound just like you
Yeah.
Right.
and tried every, like type of training it. And it works really great for some stuff, but like all of this still happens even after doing all that. So it's still important to like fact check and double check.
Could not
Yeah.
agree.
I'll also go as far as to say as well, actually, sometimes the more you try to train it or the more the more information you give it, sometimes it will actually fuck it up even
Confuse it. I
more
agree.
because
Totally.
because it is trying to the thing that I hate about it, honestly, like the one thing that is very disappointing to me is that one of its biggest priorities is speed, which is awesome,
Right.
right? Like it's great that it is going to give us fast responses. But with speed, it comes mistakes, it comes overlooking things, it comes taking a piece from here, taking a piece from here, but then forgetting about this context. And a lot of the time, if you're trying to have it do things within these certain parameters and you're overloading it with those parameters or that context, it can start to get confused and go a little bit off track. So I personally, just a little hot tip for you guys. I know I said that this wasn't gonna be a hot tip, but hot tip, I actually turn the memory off in my ChatGPT. So like there's like a general like memory setting, right? Where it like starts to like remember certain things automatically. I do not like the memory because I find that like I'll start a new prompt that's like unrelated from another one
And
or
it will
whatever it may
pull
be
information. Yeah,
from the
I've
memory,
experienced
and then
that.
it
Yep.
fucks up what I'm trying to accomplish. So I'd
Agree.
rather make certain GPTs that are trained for the particular topics, or I'll just prompt it myself with the information that it needs. And I try my best to balance giving it the information that it needs because you absolutely do need to give it the information that it needs to work well, but not overloading it so much to where it'll just start to get a little bit wonky.
Yep.
But bottom line, it absolutely can be very wrong. There was another example of it being wrong that I wanted to share. Well, you said earlier, Jody, uh, you said you said don't let it replace something. I forget. Don't let it replace something. I was thinking, don't let it replace your resourcefulness as an
Mhm.
entrepreneur. Particularly for research, leaning into your peers for advice. Resourcefulness is such an important skill, you know, and I genuinely believe it sets a lot of successful business owners apart from others. It's kind of astounding to me, and this is no offense to anybody listening to this. Like, if this is you, fine. And sometimes I know I've been there where I'm just like, I don't feel like doing my own research for this. I'm just gonna like go ask this question. It is wild to me how many questions I've seen asked in multiple Facebook groups, like, I don't know, wherever, where somebody will ask the question, and I'm like, I literally, in order to answer this question, I Googled exactly what you asked and I
And
got the
copied and
answer
pasted.
immediately.
Yeah.
Like, it is astounding to me. Like, you are waiting so much longer to get this
Mhm.
answer from somebody else than you could if you put in a Google search. And even though Google has those AI summaries, another example of it's oftentimes very wrong. Those AI summaries suck sometimes. Sometimes they're great, and a lot of the
Yeah.
times they're not. So again, be resourceful, be smart, because a lot of the time the AI summaries or the AI answers that you get will be incorrect and they won't be giving you accurate information. So always just double check it, run it back. We were even talking, Jody. This is the example that I was thinking of. Oftentimes I will use ChatGPT to run tons of surveys and data through a lot of the time. And what I'll oftentimes try to do is I try to kind of try to cheat a little bit and get testimonials pulled from these surveys or certain
Mhm.
things that people say. Like I'll say, okay, is there anything that anybody said, even in a transcript? Is there anything that anybody said during this class or during this whatever, during this consultation that I could use as a testimonial or as an example in a class? And it will straight up, and I know that you've had this experience, Jody, because we were talking about it. It will literally just completely, even
Make
though I
up a
give it the
testimonial.
information, yes, it just makes up a testimonial. And
With so much confidence.
with
Yeah.
so much confidence, I will literally be like, did somebody actually say that? Yes, somebody actually said that. I will literally go back and fucking like go through and like, no, bitch, nobody motherfucking said
And then
that.
as soon as you call it out, it says, "Oh, my bad. You're right."
You're so right.
And then, and then it still gives me bullshit. So again, you need to have eyes for this because I could even prompt it again and
Mhm.
say, no, you just did that wrong. You're not doing the right
Bad
thing.
ChatGPT.
Bad ChatGPT. And it will still be incorrect.
So
So
I think what this all comes down to, and we need to remember, this is a language processor. That's what this is. This is a bunch of coding put together to best predict which word should come next based on the entire internet, every book that's been written, every transcript that's taken place ever. It is not a search engine. I love to use it as a search engine. It is a very incredible tool that's become a new one of its own. But at the end of the day, it is a language processor. And in that transcript that you had, Hunter, somebody might have kind of said something, but if it better predicts that these words, and I'm sure the testimonial it spit out at you was a beautiful testimonial that you wish was
it's always
real.
awesome. I'm like, damn, someone said that. This is perfect
Yeah.
for what I'm creating.
Yes, it is a
Change it live.
language processor. That's all it is.
Yeah, period.
So true.
Yeah.
I actually heard someone say this the other day, and it was like, would you like entrust predictive text on your iPhone with like planning your next business moves? And that is
Exactly.
a legit question because it's kind of the same thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Great points, very much so. And I'm gonna go as far as to say too, like, because we have to also remember too, and I'm sure there's conspiracy. I'm sure that there is things that people have made as far as official statements go. Everybody has their own experiences with AI and all the things, but I'm sure that we just have to remember that this is also a business that we're interacting with. Like OpenAI is a company, and despite the CEO seemingly being a little bit more caring about the ethical side of things, which you never know in today's day and age. I don't fucking trust shit. Nobody else trusts shit. You shouldn't trust shit. You're still interacting with a business, and I believe that any smart business would make it so their product is something that somebody enjoys using. And so part of that possible coding or whatever it may be, and what we've seen, which is why it ends up being wrong, why it pulls these magical testimonials out of nowhere, is it's trying to give us the answer that's going to make us happy with what it's giving us, right?
Best
Like,
user experience they can, the same way a shampoo company would want to give you the same thing. Yeah.
exactly.
100%.
So it's just going to validate you, right? And so this brings me to my story. I've shared this with both of you guys because I thought it kind of like was a little bit earth-shattering for me because I personally have been using ChatGPT for my own personal life in many different ways. And honestly, one of those ways is through like some hard emotional shit that I've been through, right? And I know that a lot of people have been talking about like using it as a therapist and things like that. And nobody on this call personally recommends that you do that in any way, shape, or form. This is all hypothetical. This is all administrative advice or philosophical advice. It's all fake. So don't sue us. So people have been using it and I'm using it and honestly like got some really like genuinely amazing experience being able to talk through those things with ChatGPT, like genuinely. However, I saw and I'd been using it for a while and I even was kind of like, yeah, like this is a really cool way to use it. I don't see why people wouldn't want to use it this way. And then I saw somebody post something on it on social, and it was this screenshot of chat, and it might have been fake, but I think it's still, even if it was fake, I think this is absolutely still possible. It was like the person prompted, and they were like, "Thank you so much for helping me realize that there are people are spying on me." In my room and I had to move out of my parents' place and yada yada yada, right? So obviously it was like validating this person's like hallucinations or whatever that they
Illusions.
they
Yeah.
thought was going on. And that's obviously has a lot of potential for harm and harming people because it's just going to blindly validate without checking itself or thinking about the consequences. And so I'm just also going to PSA, like if you are using it for that or you're thinking about using it for that or you are recommending that people use it for that, that you take into consideration this is not a fucking human being. It's a language processor, like we said, and there is a highly likely chance that it is doing it, that is programmed to just validate you
To
and just
mirror
give you
you.
the yes, to
Yeah.
mirror you and give you
Yeah.
the answer that you feel like is going to be best for you. I oftentimes a little trick, and this is not for the therapy side of things. Okay. Seriously. Like I'm so like not recommending you use it. Nobody here is recommending that you use it for that. I'm being fucking for real. For the business side of things, where you're maybe trying to use it for a little bit of advice, I oftentimes will be like, okay, I will literally ask it. I'm like, are you just telling me what I want to hear? Like, or I'll literally say, like, play devil's advocate, like, tell me the
Mm,
opposite of this, like, give me like, and I always say, like, if you were an expert and you didn't agree with me, why would you not agree with me? Like, I like to get the
Broaden my
opposite side of
horizons.
things. Yeah,
Yeah.
because otherwise it'll just say, yeah, you're cool. And here are some little adjustments or improvements that you can make. I'm like, no, bitch. Tell me why I'm fucking wrong,
yeah.
please.
Mhm.
Yeah. Yes, exactly. Things like market research too. I think it's really important to take that into consideration as well, because like a lot of the times it'll fabricate things about even things you want to make or things you want to do in order to be like, yeah, that's a great idea. So that's such a good point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Lisa, do you have any
I
ideas?
I do. I'm going to go on a little bit of a tailspin. I obviously, for legal purposes, also agree. We're not telling you to use it as your therapist. But it's funny that you said this because I knew we were filming this podcast episode. Someone just on a Soul Tribe call the other day was like, "Oh, I've been using it as therapy." I was like, I'm not going to say that that's a good answer. We're about to do. I like pitched or shared that we were about to do this podcast episode.
Yeah.
But I came across a TikTok today about a therapist talking about how ChatGPT is harmful for this reason, for the same reason a lot of therapists right now are harmful, and just the
Mhm.
broken system that is the mental health system.
Yeah.
And I agreed with what she's saying because it's all about human connection. But then I opened the comments and there was like 400 comments of everyone saying, I have been paying therapists thousands of dollars for years and years and years. I've never got as good of feedback as this. So like just from a
Wow.
philosophical, like us being humans, not giving advice, I also like see where people's coming from. It's very, very tricky. But yeah, I think if we're gonna stand on a platform and say we love, love, love using ChatGPT, we just have to talk about the dangers that come along with it as well. And I think 100% if I spent 10 minutes right now convincing ChatGPT of my delusions, I think I could absolutely get it to say that prompt that you
Absolutely.
just
1,000%.
shared. Yeah,
I
without a doubt.
will I will say I've seen those exact same videos and I've seen those comments and I will say like I'm even like a part of I never leave comments on anything. I'm
Yeah.
too lazy, girl. But I'm like would say like I was once like on the side of those comments. Like I
Yeah.
said, like I've had my own personal experience of being like, wow, this is fucking awesome. Like and I
Yeah.
don't have any like zero human bias like
Yeah.
on the other side of the phone of the room like that is getting in the way of me being able to work through these things by
Yeah.
myself and I don't even have
Mhm.
to I don't have to think about the things that I'm saying. I'm not scared to be super vulnerable with it. Like there's a lot of power in that and I can see the attraction to it. And so again, like I've personally had good experiences, but it is very easily a slippery slope and it should not replace like educated medical professional
Absolutely.
advice at all.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's like the outward processing. Like I feel like that totally I can see like the value in that. I feel like it's maybe the slippery slope piece is when it's like taking major life actions based on advice gotten there, you know?
Yeah.
Yep, 100%.
Yeah.
And since we're talking a little bit about, I don't know, dangers or the controversial things, let me preface this by saying I feel like, hopefully, I feel like I'm throwing Lisa and Jody for a loop with this. I am somebody, if you guys know me, if you guys listen to me, if you guys have been following me for a long time, I'm somebody who I like hitting hard topics. I like putting it out in the air and just talking about it. I also like advertising what I stand for and believe in. And so I want to just preface this. We haven't talked about this, by the way, like before getting into this, but I just want to preface this next point by saying, like, Jody and Lisa, unless they have something to say about it, I have nothing to do with what I'm about to say, and their stance and whatever may be, unless they say it, is has nothing to do with mine.
Fair.
I just want to attack this because I thought it was interesting and it's something that I think is important. So I, on the Modern Hairstylist tour, which Lisa, you're gonna be fucking joining us on the fucking Modern
So
Hairstylist
soon.
tour so soon in Indianapolis. Couldn't tell you the date off the top of my head. So sorry. I got a lot of dates up
The
in my
end of
brain.
July. I think the
And
27th and the 28th, if I'm not mistaken.
period. End of July. We're gonna leave the information for you in the show notes. On the Modern Hairstylist tour, I have a whole ChatGPT training segment. Okay. And I've been blowing people's mind with this shit. All right. It's been a lot of fun. And one of the first questions I asked everybody in the audience is like, "What's your biggest hesitation?" Or like, "Why aren't you using it right now?" And one of my students said to me straight up, like, the environmental impact. Like, I've read so much about how like it's terrible for the environment and how it's using a shit ton of water and it's burning down trees and all this stuff, right? And honestly, it like really kind of shook me up. And I was like, damn, like you are so right. And particularly as somebody who really cares about that type of stuff, I really had to kind of sit down with my own like thoughts and morals and alignment with using something that may have a harmful effect on the environment. And so the effect on the environment, you know, you guys can all do your own research, and I'm sure you know my own research is flawed in one way or another. But it seems to me as if like the training for these AI models takes a significant amount of environmental resources, including water and energy, to actually train those things. And then the ongoing use isn't as much. However, it obviously accumulates and it still does take up a lot of energy. And and AI is just rapidly expanding and growing at a insane pace that production legislation the world and its
Cannot keep
resources
up. Yep.
cannot keep up with,
No.
right? And so the environmental impact is real. It is absolutely real. And I think that I personally would, it'd be a shame if I didn't talk about it because it is a very real concern, especially for my particular audience, because I think we're all on the same page as far as our core values go. And what I will say is that, you know, like I said earlier, I think it is almost unreasonable to not use AI as a tool in your business, particularly for us as small businesses, for businesses who don't have a lot of business acumen, who don't have a whole entire huge team, who has the opportunity and a lot of money, period, to hire a whole ass team to be to do all these tasks, particularly for our industry that has a full-time job of just doing the hair, but then also has to do all this businessy stuff on top of it and has barely any time to do it. And in a world in which everybody is starting to adopt these tools and increase efficiency, and the market is becoming significantly more competitive because of that, I think it is just unfortunately unreasonable for you as a business owner to not be using this tool. I just genuinely believe that that's the case. And unfortunately, there is environmental impact that comes with that. And so first off, just acknowledging the fact that like I promote this, I teach how to use it, and I really enjoy it because I think that it can help a lot of people who aren't on that same playing field of these massive corporations who have huge teams who can help them and have all this time in the world and money and resources. I think that it can help people who don't have that. I think it can help even the playing field, basically. My T is I think what I'm reminded of when it comes to this kind of conversation and any environmental impact conversation is a lot of the times the rhetoric that's out there will be blaming the consumer instead of the company. Like a lot of the times it'll hold the consumer accountable versus the company. Like it'll make us think like, oh, if we recycle this can, then we're saving the world or whatever may be, or we should feel guilty for, I don't know, taking a fucking hot shower for more than a minute or whatever it may be. And yes, of course, like there is a little bit of truth to the fact that we as consumers overconsume. However, what about the companies who are, number one, making us addicted to certain products, producing things in unethical ways to make it so their profit margins are high, and they're not being held accountable or holding themselves accountable to making it so their environmental impact is the smallest that it can possibly be, and that is and AI companies, particularly because it's a much newer industry, and unfortunately, government, particularly, sorry about it, the government that we're in right now is going to be very late to regulating these types of concerns with these new AI companies. And I mean, especially because there's so many new ones being created at such a rapid pace. And what I'm hoping is that we hold these companies accountable and that there is actual legal action and legislation to holding these corporations accountable, to making it so if AI is going to be present, because it already is fucking here and it's not going away anytime soon, that the way that it is managed, handled, mass produced, and operated, systematized, all the things is with the least amount of environmental impact as possible. Do you guys have any thoughts?
I couldn't agree more. I think when you just think about it at scale, AI models are now using AI models are using AI models. Like the
Yeah.
amount, no, like truly the amount of computing that's happening, whether humans even interact with it or not at this point, it does. And it is kind of, if you really want to spiral, it is kind of like, how the hell does all of this end up? But I always like to go through life with an optimistic lens and
Yeah.
hope that eventually the people who are in charge, but I agree. And so I guess, Hunter, you say did you, impractical was the word that you used to not use it?
Unreasonable.
Unreasonable. So you would, what do you think is someone's stance on just saying like, I'm not going to use it and that's for me?
Absolutely, and fucking don't use it.
Okay, then
I
yeah,
mean,
you
you
can't
both
speak
know,
for them.
you both hear me say all the time, you run your business however the fuck you want to run your business.
Yep,
I do not care. And however you want to run your business, if you choose me to be your mentor, however
for
you
sure.
want to run your business, my mission is to support you in the way that you want to run your business and give you all the tools and resources that I possibly can within your parameters of your boundaries, your core values, all the things. So you do whatever the fuck you want to do, my friend. Like pop off. And if you're going to decide to not use this thing, BT dubs, you should be doing this anyway if you actually want
Mhm.
to make this tool work for you. If you want it to be fucking good for you and
Yeah,
not fuck your shit up,
yeah.
then you should absolutely be educating yourself and doing the work to figure out your own, to build your own tools in your brain. This is the T. Nobody can take knowledge away from you. Like, I am so confident in how fucking smart I am because of the work that I put in, the research I put in, the experience that I have. I am so confident that no matter what the fuck happens in the world, whether I completely lose access to AI because of some crazy legal situation, whether I don't fucking know, whether I had to lose my entire team tomorrow, I am so confident because I have the knowledge and the acumen that I can still create a strong, beautiful ass business and living for myself. And I'm just going to encourage you to empower yourself with that same confidence through knowledge. Because when tools such as this come up that allow you to be more efficient, you will then be able to approach them responsibly and in an optimized way, use them to get you further than where you are now without risk. Did I make sense?
Made
Yes.
perfect sense. And I
Yeah.
think you should feel that way. I agree.
Thank you. And I would agree that for both of y'all. I think both of y'all, if y'all, we all have our own unique, beautiful skill sets, and we all have so much experience and knowledge. And we were doing this damn thing before this AI thing came out. And I think that if AI was gone tomorrow, then we would absolutely be able to still be on our feet, standing strong. And I would love that for every single business owner. And so I love that you say, Lisa, like to quote you, like use it as a tool, not a crutch. And I think that that's like the overall message of this episode. So is there any other thoughts that either of you would like to share?
I feel good. How about you, Jody?
I feel good too. I feel like we covered a lot.
Period. Okay, well, so here's the tea. We were shitting on AI this entire time, all the things. But however, like we said, I think it's unreasonable for you to not be using it. And so if you want to learn some advanced AI shit, if you want to be maximizing ChatGPT, have an eye for making sure that it actually is giving you great responses and things like that, then I am teaching that in the Modern Hairstylist tour. It's new content that I'm not teaching most of it in my programs already. And so it's brand new and you all will learn a ton from it. We are getting beautiful reviews from every single attendee for the Modern Hairstylist Tour. We are so honored to have Lisa Huff and Stylist Soul Tribe as a guest speaker at the Modern Hairstylist Tour Indianapolis date. Our very good friend Kimber Chapman will be hosting as well too. So for those of you who are familiar with Kimber and maybe the Clubhouse days, it's going to be a nice little reunion and we're all going to have a party and it's going to be fucking sick. So highly recommend that you come. We're going to leave the details for you in the show notes. And thank you so much for tuning into the Modern Hairstylist podcast.
And the Stylist Soul Tribe Conversations podcast.
Period. And Jody Brown, we appreciate you so fucking much. You are so special to me and your perspective is so important to me. I learn from you every day and that's exactly why I wanted to have you as a part of this conversation and you added so much value. Lisa, I love you so much. You're my fucking bestie and you're the fucking queen and I love how you care so much for this industry and your perspective and getting to talk these things out with you. So thank you both so much for spending this time with me today. I really appreciate it.
You're the
Thank
best.
you, Hunter.
All right. Peace out, Girl Scout. Bye bye.